Welcome to the Mastering Fulfillment podcast, where we focus on bridging your success with fulfillment in your personal, business, and spiritual life. And now your hosts, Scott Berry and Joshua Wenner.
Hello and welcome back to the Mastering Fulfillment podcast. We're continuing with questions and answers. And this next question asks for any tips about keeping in a peak and focused state during the day. For me, because I do work at home quite often, being in front of the computer is really tough. So I'll use a Pomodoro timer, the 20-minute timer, which is the whole idea of the Pomodoro Technique is 20 minutes on where you're just focusing on one thing, then 5-minute break, then 20 minutes on. You do that a couple times, and then you take a 20-minute break. While I'm at the computer or while I'm in project mode or while I'm writing or making phone calls, what I'll try to do about every hour or two or maybe every 3 hours is I'll try to get outside and I'll put on my running shoes and I'll literally go for a run around the block. And it probably takes me, I think it's about 80 seconds, 83 seconds. I'm pretty good about having the same timer on the block. But what it does is it just gets the blood moving and it just gets me outside, right? And I try to get some sun or just to be outside just for a few minutes. And it just absolutely wakes me up. The second thing that I do almost every day, I am religious about this and I've done it for, I don't know how long, is I nap. And I'm a huge, huge believer of naps. I really feel that it's not for everyone. Michelle has a really hard time with napping. She loves the idea of it, and she'll even lay down quite often, but it's hard for her to go to sleep. With me, I can literally just close my eyes. 20 minutes is about the ideal time for me, possibly 25. Anything more than 25 for me, I start to get groggy, but a 20-minute nap for me in the middle of the day just re-sparks me up, and I can usually get more done after that nap than I can get more done in an hour than I usually could in 2.5 hours, just because I'm just more alert. So those are two things that just really keep my day focused and sharp. Anything on your end?
I like those a lot. Those are super helpful. Interesting. One of them is holding my breath.
What does that mean?
But a lot of times I'm like driving through and there's stuff I got to finish and I'm tired or something will kick in. And I find if I hold my breath, it sounds interesting, but I feel like I'm oxygenating my brain. And if I do breath work, so I'll either just hold my breath, I'll take a lot of deep breaths and then just hold, or I'll do what's called a 13 breath anchor, where it's like you breathe in through your mouth, out through your mouth, in through your mouth, out through your nose, in through your nose, out through your nose, in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then in through your nose, out through your mouth. So you're basically one full loop around. Yeah. And if I do that 3 times, which is like 13 breaths, really intense, and then I hold my breath at the end, I get lightheaded, and it just kind of, to me, it's the same effect that I do with the cold shower.
It's almost like a state change, right?
It's exactly what it is. I'm massively changing my state and using breath to do it, because again, I try to work through, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I give it a coffee or tea or cappuccino. When I work at Business Rockstars, there's like a latte machine, so I can get whatever I want. It's just there. So sometimes I'll notice myself giving in a couple times, and then I'll reground and just do breath work. So that's really helpful for me. I also do a lot of push-ups throughout the day. So if I'm just getting tired or after lunch or whatever, I'll just get down and do lately, and then I'll challenge somebody, which is kind of fun if I'm in an office with other people. If not, I'll just do it on my own. But especially like if I've been a little lethargic and I have to get on a coaching call, or if I have to bust out a project and I'm feeling kind of tired, that's my tendency, is I burn too much. So I get a little tired and I have so many things I have to get done and I don't feel like doing them. I actually think that's a common thing with most entrepreneurs. It's like, you just got to get a lot of things done that you don't always feel like doing.
Yeah.
And you have to put yourself in the right state to do them. So I'm either doing a bunch of push-ups, or I'll crank some music and dance for a little bit, or just funny, funky stuff to change my state. And then I'll get down and put blinders on and just try to bust out something and then take another little break. So similar to the narrow method, but more on the project thing. Because sometimes like I had to go through, we just recently bought this company and I had to go through the asset purchase agreement, which was like an 85-page document and all the due diligence. And there's an overwhelming amount of stuff to do. And I had to really put myself in some states because I was reading documents and just a lot of admin work, if you will.
Yeah, a lot of clauses and just real snoozers. Yeah.
Yeah, real snoozers. And I had to be motivated for that. And the same is true. Sometimes there's just something I don't feel like doing. And I'm like, I got to bust through this. And so I find that's really helpful. I find a lot of entrepreneurs, and this kind of ties into, I'm sure you see it as well. They struggle because they're not willing to do the work. I'll give you just a recent example. I have one of my accountability groups. I have a number of men. I have about 16 different men. I'm doing 3 different accountability groups. So one of them, there's 2 different men who are wanting to start their own businesses, and they're mapping it out. And their challenge is cold calling. And they've mentioned multiple times, like, I don't want to do cold calling. I don't want to deal with it. And it's not that. Again, there's other ways around it, but in my opinion, it's like there's always a way. And it's, to me, that's the brute force way. But I've been able to start a number of things. Even how I started my retreats is I just got on the phone and started calling, and it sucks. It's nobody likes it. I hate it. But I know it's just a numbers game. So I've had to really, when I have a lot of resistance, I'll just literally sit down and I'll do push-ups, sit-ups, and I'll just make it fun. I try to make it fun and build momentum that way. And so the reason I bring it up is I can see it from my frame of mind. They're resistant to it is what's stopping them from being successful. Because it's like after you do it a couple times, then you find other ways to do it. Because you're like, I hate this, or I don't want to do it. And you find more resourceful ways. Yeah. But in the beginning, sometimes it just takes the brute force to get something up and running. And then once you get it up and running, unless you got the money, if you have a lot of cash, or you have a little bit more cash flow, you can take the time to build a funnel or to do lead gen, or those are your core competencies. But for somebody that doesn't have a core competency, that wants to start their own business, it's got an amazing vision and is like, I need clients, it just takes hard work. So the reason I'm bringing it up is I use it throughout my day, because a lot of times I'm building or I'm creating something or I'm doing something, and there's a lot of uncomfortability with what I'm doing. So it's either like I'm bored with it or it's uncomfortable, and it's just it's kind of just the shit you don't want to deal with in business that you have to succeed. So the things I like, time flies by, and I'm curious your experience with this. I don't even notice what happens, and pretty soon the day is gone, and I'm like, man, that was so fun. Or you're managing calls or people or whatever it is. So curious yours, like when you have to use certain tools and which ones fly by. Just curious. So if anybody's listening, they can go, oh, I can relate to this.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head where anything that you just naturally love to do, right? These are the articles that you're reading about. These are the magazines that you subscribe to, like the interests that just naturally gravitate toward you. It's easy to do that, right? No one has a hard time and have to drink 3 cups of coffee to go play their favorite PS4 game or, do something that they absolutely love. And for me, it's, time goes by super fast, obviously, when I'm doing the stuff that I'm super, super passionate about, but it's those other moments of, what are all the peripheral stuff and the admin stuff that is critical to the support of those passionate things of your business, of those things that actually need to get done. And that's when I need to get resourceful. And for me, one of the biggest things I have to do is state change. Just like you said, I started in sales back in 2000 was my first sales job. I didn't know anything about it. And I got into this company. I did some pretty intense hardcore training, and it was all about getting on the phone, smiling and dialing. And it was terrifying and nerve-wracking. And what I found is what makes it easier is when I'm in a good mood and I just feel great, I want to pick up the phone and I want to reach out and I want to connect. And so getting yourself in that state just makes it easier in general. Like, what are those times when you go to work, even if it's not a job that you love, right? It's a job it's a stepping stone, let's put it that way. And you don't love a lot of the aspects of it, but for whatever reason, it's Friday, you're going out hiking with your buddies on Saturday, and you're so excited because you took the next 4 days off, and you're in a great mood and you just can't wait to go. So when you get into the office, a lot of times you're like, oh yeah, I'll do this, I'll take care of this. And you're doing it with a smile because you're already in that state. It's interesting because a lot about what we just talked about in our morning routine and our day routine, every one of those is about state change, right? When I am in front of the computer and I need to go for a quick 80-second run around the block, it's to really change my state. And I think what happens is we start to get a little bit stagnant. And I don't think we put enough attention to the physicality of our state, because our state, especially our physical state, right, along with our emotional state and all that, like you could be working out and